Today I want to talk about one of my favorite headphones that have become one of my staples over the last decade or so. I first found these when I made friends with some people at Berkeley School of Music, and they used these headphones for everything from, you know, just voiceovers to their instrument monitoring and everything. And I kind of just jumped on that bandwagon, you know, so I got a pair and I thought that I was cool. But luckily for me, it wasn't just a gimmick. It wasn't just some like pretty skinned headphones with heavy bass. They were actually a little bit more quality, and I realized that they had a bigger following than just the cult following that I thought it was at Berkeley. They're solid all around, and that's the reason why they are so popular. And these headphones are the ATH-M50s. Well, these are the 50Xs. These are the upgraded versions, but you know, they're about the same. The reason why they're so great is not just because they're used by musical professionals. They are not just great for monitoring. They are also just great headphones overall. They are good for general listening because they don't really blow out or, you know, emphasize something too much. You're not going to have really crazy bass that's over exaggerated, or, you know, something that sparkles too much and is harsh on the ears. You're just going to get some modest representation of the music that was created. And I think that's great for accuracy's sake. It's a great way to have a baseline to test other headphones, and this is generally what my baseline has been. I mean, they're super simple headphones. They are extremely comfortable because they are so loosely constructed. So despite what head size you might have, the ear pads are extremely soft, and they're deep 50-inch drivers, or 50-inch. What am I talking about? 50mm drivers. And so that's good for like any ear size that you might have. But despite how much I like these and how flat they are, and you know, good for most scenarios, this thing is what's becoming an issue. Because how phones are, you know, moving towards a more seamless design with no ports, no anything. The use of a cable is becoming a nuisance almost. It's great for if you're at home and you're trying to listen to things, but these are already easy to drive, and I used to use them on my phone all the time. But if I'm going to upgrade, that's why most of my headphones as of late have been wireless. Unfortunately, Audio-Technica does not make a wireless version of these, or that I found comparable. I've looked for a little bit. They were either smaller, or they just didn't have the same sound quality, or the noise canceling was terrible. Same thing with the Sennheiser, but we'll get to that in another review. So, as much as I always wanted to carry these around, the cable was always something that was annoying to me. That is until I found a solution to make these more wireless. So, on a random Amazon trip, which I do often, I found these. It's the East Brooklyn Labs adapter. I don't even BAL-M50x. Random. But yeah, they purport that this will get you a wireless configuration for your M50Xs, and will allow you to take these wherever without any hassle. So, with them being so small and portable, I decided to take them on a recent trip. So I recently came back from Nantucket, and I tested these out for about half a week with my friends. So the adapter itself is super small and compact, as I mentioned before, so it's easy to store in your bag. So you can use the cable for most of the time, but if you ever want to go wireless, you have that option, it'll be there. My only concern would probably be the little dongle, or it's not the dongle, but the male connector. And that's because it is thin. It needs to be thin to fit in this hole, but it is a concern if it's going to be jostled around, it might snap, I'm not sure. However, I didn't really have that issue. The construction is all plastic, but it does hold up pretty well. The actual design fits pretty seamless with the headphone itself. It fits and snugly on, but it also just sort of fits the curvature of the headphone itself. I mean, also with it being black, it also makes sure that the headphone, or that the device, does not seem out of place in the headphones. No matter what color you have, it's generally going to match. So in the red version, it'll look like a black accent. With the white version, it'll just look like you're doing an Oreo accent. And with any of the darker versions, it just blends in perfectly. Really the only knock on the design is that it is really plasticky. So I mean, the headphones themselves are plastic, so it's not really taking, or it's not a huge derivative from the initial design. It's just it's a different plastic that doesn't seem as lush. And you notice these in the buttons. The buttons are extremely clicky, but they just don't feel that great. So long presses, short presses, they're all very responsive. However, it just doesn't feel great. On top of that, the buttons also are not very raised. They're just slightly raised, so you do have to feel for all three to understand what you're trying to do. The other thing that is different about it is that it will hang down on the side that it connects to, and I believe that is on the left side. So it does hang down, and that's not for no reason. Not only does the switch and the power port fit on that side of the headphone or that bottom part, but it also hangs down because there is a microphone, and that microphone does pick up calls, and it actually picks up pretty well. So while I was waiting on longer trips, or while I was waiting on the bus, I was talking to my mom and some friends, it sounded perfect on their end, and they had no issues with it breaking up or crackling. So the Bluetooth microphone performs well on these. In terms of connection, it connects extremely easily. If once you pair it, it'll remember that pair. So the last device that it remembers, once it's on and that device has recognized it, it'll automatically connect, and there's no additional steps needed. So you may already think that this solution here is perfect, right? $50 and you get a wireless configuration on a set of headphones that are extremely comfortable and sound really, really good. And that's where I would think that we need to consider what makes wireless headphones very good. And one of them is battery life. So I took this on the trip, which takes about 6 hours. So I took a bus, took another bus, took a ferry, waited for my friends, walked to places, and did a little bike ride, and it lasted that entire trip. And so that whole end-to-end probably was about 4 to 5 hours. And then in casual listening inside our Airbnb, it died. So I'm gonna say that it got, and then I did this the same way back, and it was about the same behavior. So overall, I would say that the battery lasts around 6 hours, which sounds alright, right? It'll get you through most of a work day, or it'll get you through your commute. And that's what I would say that it's for. So if you're trying to just use this on the commuter, or you're trying to use this on the train or bus to get into work, that's fine. Just bring along that cable, because you're probably gonna need to plug it into the day until you get to your head back home to commute. In that scenario, it works perfectly. It'll get you through the day, and you can just charge it at night. However, when I think of wireless headphones, I've tested a lot of them. All of them last well over that. They last at least 8 hours, at least get you the work day. And they come with the cables that you might need. So when I see this, I mean at 6 hours, of course, I'm not gonna approve of it. It's not, it doesn't meet those standards. And I mean, you can't really expect much from this thing, because look at the shape of it. It is an awkward shape, and it already has to have the receiver and a circuit board for the buttons, and the connector to interface with. So between the shape and the size, you're not going to fit that many cells in here. So I wasn't expecting it to perform any better than that. If it did, it might have been surprising, but of course it's going to take these non-powered headphones and not drive it only so far. So while this was a fun listen and a pretty interesting product, I'm not sure how I want to compare this to other wireless headphones. If you really like your ATH-M50s or M50Xs, this might be a great option, because, you know, if you just need something to get you your wireless options there, but you usually use a cable, this will do it. And for $50, it only adds so much more to this headphone to make it a good wireless option. But I think that the battery life and audio quality degradation is an issue for me. Again, adding this dongle makes this a $200 setup. Can you find headphones at $200 with active noise canceling, a more seamless integration with wireless? at this around this quality of sound. That's to be determined. I haven't found one yet that I want to review, but I'm sure there's an option. Obviously, you're going to have better options once you start spending like $400 on a headset. It's hard because I do like my ATH-M50s, but I'm not sure if this is the perfect option for it. Especially when I'm starting to think about like what I use wireless headphones are. They're not for a wired scenario. They're for a wireless scenario and like, you know, hands-free, worry-free. So the 4 to 6 hour battery life is sort of a killer on that one because I have to constantly worry if it's gonna die. The audio quality sucks. That sucks, but the audio quality is a concern because I do have a familiarity with how the wired experience feels. So it's gonna bother me in the future. And it comes down to like, at $200, does that make this a compelling wireless option or wireless experience? And to me, I'm gonna say no. As much as I love these headphones and would love them to be wireless, I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna return this dongle and, you know, stick with my other options. But if you have any questions, I've tested this a ton, and you know, I always appreciate the comments. As always, I appreciate you guys sticking out, and until next time, peace.